With so many Russian tank storage bases quickly depleting, like the 22nd, 111th, 1295th, and 6080th being practically emptied, and as my last video showed, the 769th being in a rapid decline, I decided to take yet another look at another base. And when I buy satellite imagery, I honestly don't know what I'm going to get until after I pay for it. It might show a huge decline, or stay the same, or have even increased. And after buying this one of the 349th, while I was working on this video, it gets published on Google Earth for free. Also another one I almost bought, but I'm glad I didn't. The 22nd was also posted online by Google. And what's also available online is a huge amount of your personal information, sold by data brokers, and a lot of it even available for free to whoever wants it. And our sponsor this week, Incogni, can help you with that. I mentioned before my own personal story, how a girl I went on a date with knew all my information, current address and past addresses, relatives, and so on, just for my phone number. Now, she was using it for a good reason, for safety meeting someone for the first time, but not everyone has good intentions. There's been cases of scammers using this data to trick friends and family into sending money, or even using your data to take out huge loans, mail fraud, and even legitimate businesses like health insurance companies have teamed up with data brokers to collect your data that could raise your rates. Now, what Incogni does to protect you is not only issue removal requests to these companies, and that does work, but then they just start collecting again from there. So Incogni has an automated system that repeatedly issues those requests. All you have to do is create an account, say whose data you wish to protect, and they do the rest. And they have family plans as well as individual. So go over and check them out. Use my code CABAL, or just click the link in the description and you'll get 60% off an annual plan. Again, Incogni. By far, the two largest remaining Russian tank storage bases are the 769th in Ulan-Ude and the 349th in Topchika in central Russia. A few weeks ago, we did a detailed look at the 769th with the latest, highest quality imagery, including making a full 3D model of it. So now, let's do the 349th. And since I did it last time, I figured I have to do it again. A full, detailed 3D model of the base complete with every last vehicle, building, fencing, even every tree. And it's neat, since we can get views that are not possible from satellite imagery alone. For example, this guard tower seen in the background here. We can create a simulated view of what can be seen from it. And again, a huge thanks to HIMARS for helping ID and count all these vehicles. He did so not just for this image, but recounted again for 4 other past dates. The base's location was important during the Cold War. After the Sino-Soviet split, and with high tensions between the USSR and China, its location near the Chinese border and along a branch of the Trans-Siberian Railway made it a perfect location for a military base. At the time, it hosted parts of the 23rd Motor Rifle Division, and this declassified 1972 spy satellite image shows that it was mostly just barracks and few vehicles. Since then, it's changed so much that it was nearly impossible to align these images. Virtually none of the original buildings remain. After the Cold War ended, again, its location was perfect to store vehicles. It was along a rail line and east of the Ural Mountains, which was required by the CFE Treaty. The base held well over 1,000 tanks and was extremely active. Of every base I've researched, this one had the most amount of pictures and videos of it. Even this one of personnel messing around and drifting around in a T-72 tank. But this base alone had enough tanks and BMPs to fully equip half a dozen tank divisions. But with economic problems and the accompanying budget deficits, maintenance was lacking. In 2012, Russia began a massive program to scrap over 10,000 tanks. With the war now in Ukraine, while many thousands had already been destroyed, that program was obviously stopped. So that all leads us up to today. Now, as I mentioned, the latest image is free on Google for anyone to see, and here are the coordinates if anyone wants to take a look for themselves. But before that, their next latest image was from May 2022. I've been buying satellite imagery of this base for years now, so we can track its changes much more accurately over the course of the war. And here are those numbers. The tank numbers have stayed almost exactly the same. It dropped over 100 early in the war, but has since only dropped 7 over the last 12 months. But it is worth noting that over half of all the tanks here are complete junk. As you can see, not a single tank has moved here from between February 2023 and September 2024. And if we zoom over to look at it in the 3D model, you can see how tightly packed they are. There's no way these received any maintenance and likely were slated to be scrapped. When it comes to BMPs, you can see that the numbers are all over the place, and doubled from February to October in 2023. Most of those can be seen appearing here in the southern section of the base. Then, in the years since, started to decline a bit. And in the latest image, you can see dozens pulled out onto a path to be shipped out. And you can actually see, just to the north at the train station, 20 more BMPs ready to be loaded onto trains. Another thing I've noticed looking at different dates over the course of the war is that they've been changing their vehicle layout. Like here, all the vehicles oriented vertically in the image, and now many tanks are now horizontal. And I think this further supports my theory that they're consolidating storage bases. The two furthest to the east, the 111th and 1295th, are now virtually empty, whereas the 349th and 769th still have huge numbers. They're also more centrally located and closer to Ukraine, while still being far enough away from Ukraine to avoid being hit. So, while the base has remained pretty steady in terms of tank numbers, again, other bases have massively declined. The two I mentioned, the 111th and 1295th, but also the 22nd. I had actually planned to buy this image too for a video, and I'm glad I didn't because it also appeared on Google Maps last week. We knew it was declining from our image from May, but the resolution of that image was horrible. This image is over 6 times the quality, and obviously a lot newer from September. Before the war, you could see hundreds of tanks in the central gated section here. Now, it looks pretty lonely and abandoned, with just 4. And just to the south of that, where over 330 T-80s were, now only a handful remain. And the cool thing about the 22nd is, there's a fun detailed story about a US inspection of the base. And you could find this book online for free. There's some great pictures and details about disagreements and even arguments they had, challenges in counting, and so on. But that's it. As for the 349th, it, along with just a few other bases, seem to be all the remaining central tank storage bases, with the rest likely to be shut down eventually, as Russia has fewer and fewer tanks that it needs to store. Also, as they consolidate, they appear to be storing mostly a single type of tank at each base, which makes sense as it simplifies maintenance, spare parts, and training for the staff, as well as other reasons. And those bases and tanks are mostly T-62s at the 769th, T-64s at the 103rd, T-72s at the 349th, and T-80s at the 1311th.